Hey, what's up, guys? So tonight we're going to talk about collecting optical aids, antique optical aids, that is. And so as you can see, we have a smorgasbord of different kind of antique optical accessories. And yes, accessories. Pretty much in the olden days, they made things fancy for a fashion accessory and also for a utilitarian purpose. So not only were these things useful, they were actually beautiful. And not like today. Well, today we actually have fashion glasses made by famous designers as well. So it pretty much never ever changes. Pretty much things that are fashionable are worn, and including clothing and all sorts of things, jewelry. And so here we go. We have many, 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 many different decades of antique spectacles and optical aids. And so let's begin by talking about, first off, opera glasses. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of pair in my collection. These are actually, oh my goodness, absolutely gorgeous. These are solid gold. Yes, 14 karat gold, and they're French. And these are beautiful, beautiful opera glasses. So mostly, actually, for the most part, I'm not an expert. This is, by the way, another episode of my Antiques Roadshow, spin-off, which is Ghetto Antiques Roadshow. So since it's Ghetto Antiques Roadshow, not the regular Antiques Roadshow, I am not an expert. So I will just tell you basically what I know, which could be wrong. But for the most part, I believe they started making these opera glasses sometime in the time of Marie Antoinette or Madame Pompadour. So they've been around for quite some time, but they improved. And this pretty much design that we see here was generally popular from the early like 1830s, 1840s, all the way up to about the 1930s. And these particular pair were made during the Victorian time frame. So it's a late Victorian time frame between the 1870s and the 1890s. And you can see these beautiful, I guess, daisies going throughout the piece. And so when you actually move this little wheel right here in the center, the lenses go up and down so you can adjust them so you can actually see. So the reason why these were mostly actually used were not only the fact that they were a fashion accessory, but when people would go to plays and shows, they would not be able to perfectly see the stage if they were sitting far back. And these would help them to see the actors in plays, the opera. And actually, the funny part is these have a story behind them as well. Okay, so I believe it was Madame Pompadour or Marie Antoinette had actually, I think, invented some kind of fan. And it was a lady's fan that folded out, like accordion style. And inside each of the little accordion pieces of the fan would be little lenses hidden inside the fan. And so a lady could actually hide her face as she was looking through the little lenses on the fan, so she could sort of snoop on people without them knowing that they were being looked at and being judged and scrutinized and even checking out men. They also had the jealousy glasses, which were like opera glasses, but they actually had mirrors, just like you have in your car. So you don't have to turn your head around and you look in your rear view mirror. You know what I'm saying? Well, they had them built into these opera glasses as well. So if a lady actually looked through the lenses, there was like little mirrors, I believe, on the side. I've never seen a pair, but she could actually see who was behind her. So she could check out guys, without showing that she's being a flirt and being a snoop. And it was sort of scandalous to stare at people and look at people in public, especially women. If they were checking men out, you had to do it discreetly. So a woman would be able to actually see behind them. And it was actually fun. If you think about it, you had these pair of jealousy glasses. These are also another pair of opera glasses. They're French. They have what's known as a lorgnette handle. A lorgnette or lorgnère, I think it means to look at or to like scrutinize or something like that. And again, I'm no expert. This is the Ghetto Antiques Roadshow. So this would be another design. They would have opera glasses with a handle that actually pulls out, and this telescopes out, and it could be folded up above the glasses when they're not in use, like this. So, and they could be placed inside of a little case or a little bag or even a purse and be travel sized. So there we go. Another pair I have, I just did an unboxing from an eBay purchase I just made the other day, are these guys, which are French. By the way, most of these were French. It's not to say that other countries didn't make them. Germany made really good lenses as well, England, America, but pretty much a lot of the opera glasses or the binoculars of the day were made in France. And here's a really, really crazy pair. These are insane. I thought the barrels may have been missing right over here, but the more I look at these, the more I realize that these are actually a crazy design. These are French, as you can see there. Twin Moon, it says in French over there. And these were probably made from between the 1880s to about 1900. Really quite awesome. And this little wheel over here, you can turn, and these little tubes over here go up and down. Now, a lot of you might say, well, the barrels are missing. You got a broken pair. I really don't think the barrels are missing, because if you look at the barrels on these pairs right here, they're much, much, much wider than these tiny little barrels that you see over here. So I really believe that these are actually original. I've never seen another one like these. They do have skeleton style or folding opera glasses that are very similar to these, but I think these are one of a kind. I could not find another that looked identical to this on the internet. All right, so let's get into Lorgnette spectacles. And again, I'm no expert, but let's check out what's in the collection. Okay, so from what I read, and again, I'm no expert, so please don't write in the comments you shouldn't be making a video if you know nothing about what you're speaking of. It's only from collecting, I'm learning as I go along, and we're all learning together. Basically, in 1825, an Englishman by the name of George Adams, actually, no, not 1829, I'm losing it, 1785, invented these spectacles called lorgnettes, and they're meant to be basically a pair of spectacles on a stick, that you hold up. Now, they did have spectacles that actually attached to the face with the arms on the side. They did have them as early as, I believe, the 1600s, even the 1500s. But these actually ones that are attached to a stick were not meant to stay on the face. They were just meant to look through just to see things. And you can see they actually really work. A lot of them actually were prescription glasses. Some of them were just magnifying lenses in there. Now, these were meant originally to go in a man's pocket. They were not actually made for women. And what had happened was women actually got interested in them later on when they started going to operas and what have you. They got very interested in these type of glasses, as opposed to, say, sometimes, carrying these around may have been these are very, very quite heavy. This was actually much easier to hold up to your eyes to actually see a play or see who's on stage, although they're not as magnified, which these are, I think, 10 times magnified, as opposed to these, which would be more of a fine print. If you're looking at words on things, like over here, there we go. Our eyeglass case has the address over there. So these are really actually more for reading books and reading newspapers and reading magazines. So women were never, ever, ever really interested in wearing spectacles. It looked unsightly. It did not look pretty. It did not make them look attractive. And until the lorgnette, or these spectacles on a stick, were invented, that's when women started to become more interested in glasses. And generally, though, for women, men used lorgnettes first, actually, and then it became more of a woman's thing. Not to say that men later on in the 19th century and the early 20th century did not use these, but these became more of a fashion accessory as opposed to actually being something that was useful. If a woman held up a pair of these glasses to her eyes, she could actually sort of lurk around and look around and have almost a mysterious look to her. And she could actually look quite attractive doing so. It's almost like flirting in a way. Oh, let me check this out. And you hold it up to your eyes. And You know what I mean? A lot of these actually originally did not fold. So these folding glasses, as you can see here, these can be folded to go inside the handle. They originally started out where they did not fold and go into the handle. So the very, very, very early ones will be ones that do not fold, like you see here. These ones actually were made anywhere between the 1850s to about the 1890s. I can't tell precisely because so many of these were made for so many decades in the same exact way. That's very, very hard to pin down a date. Now, this design, actually, there was a pair that was owned by Lincoln's wife, and Lincoln's wife actually had a pair in gold that were almost identical to these. And so I'm going to guess these are probably between 1860 to about 1880. I could be incorrect. If I am, I apologize. And so a lot of these also would have been attached to a chain. This one does not have a chain attached. It probably went missing. And a lady could wear these around her neck, which was also quite cool. Now, I'm going to show you another pair of earlier ones. Now, as you notice, some of them have shorter lorgnettes and some of them have longer lorgnettes. And I noticed that the earlier ones, or the older ones, had the longest length sticks, as you can see, like this one here. This one is really, really long. I noticed that the later in the decade and earlier 20th century, so from the late Victorian period to the early 20th century, the little sticks or the little handles got shorter and shorter. And I'll show you a pair that was the latest out of all these. The latest, well, not the latest, but the not at the God, it's so crazy. Sometimes I get brain farts. The ones that are not the oldest. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, the lorgnette changes as we go in the early 20th century. These were made actually between about 1915 to about 1935, which is quite interesting. Now, these ones are sterling silver. Now, a lot of these were made out of different materials. Some were even made out of tortoiseshell, mother of pearl. They were made out of fancy rhinestones with gold, actually 14 karat, 18 karat, 24 karat gold, made out of platinum. They weren't always made out of sterling silver. They were also made out of plated silver. They were made out of chrome. They were made out of brass. So it depended on the lady's budget. So from the highfalutin to the actually low class, or people that weren't of means, everybody could afford a pair of lorgnettes. Now, these were made actually probably, my guess, about 1920s. And these are really quite cool. You'll see these cool rhinestones in them. And these doubled as a fashion accessory. So these would fold up like so. And this would be folded as well and placed on the front of a lady's dress in the 1920s. And that would become a dress clip. So that's really quite cool. Now I'm going to show you another pair of early 20th century ones. These ones are made out of platinum, not platinum. If they were platinum, they would be worth quite a bit of money, probably about $6,000 to $8,000. These are actually marcasites, which is not a precious gem, but it's a more of an ornamental type of thing that looked like rhinestones with this pretty bow design on the side. These also folded up. And platinum, by the way, platinum was actually an alternative to platinum, which was less expensive. It's actually more precious than silver, but way less expensive than the real platinum, which is more expensive than gold. Okay, so these would fold up like so. Let's check out the mechanisms on this. And there you go. And then again, this would become a dress clip on the front of a lady's dress. So let's fold that over and you can check that out. Okay, so that's another kind of style. As you can see, these went on in the decades. Now these ones are, again, probably Edwardian, probably between 1900 to about 1918 or so. And these are actually white gold. These are solid white gold. I think it's a 14 karat white gold. And we got this beautiful design over here, really quite lovely. And again, these fold up And let's check out the mechanisms. And the mechanisms are really actually genius if you look at this. Okay, and my glove is caught. There we go. And it has a beautiful chain here. Let's check out this chain. And this would have went around a lady's neck. So this would have dangled down the front of her blouse. And then anytime she needed them, she could just hold this up and she would press a little button. Let's try to find that. You ready? And they would pop open. And these are really quite beautiful and quite expensive, being white gold. These are probably the most expensive pair I have over here, besides these solid gold opera glasses, which are really heavy. They weigh almost 1 pound, which is quite crazy. Okay, so another pair. Let's check this out. This is an early 20th century pair again. This is men's. And this would have probably attached a pocket watch to this as well, with this little chain that you see here, and then attached to his coat jacket along with the pocket watch and tucked into his coat pocket. And so let's press the mechanism on this, and there you go. It looks almost identical to a pair of ladies' ones. And if you look close, we have this beautiful, beautiful early 20th century design. These are gold filled, and since they're gold filled, it's basically a light coating of gold. So these are not as expensive as our real gold ones. And it's very hard to do this on camera to get these folded in here, but we will do it. And there we go. And now my hooker glove is stuck on there. There we go. Let's get the hooker glove off. Okay. Oh, we got a little blooper. It's always a blooper when making these Ghetto Antiques Roadshow videos. And there we go. You can also use it as a regular magnifier. And it works. Okay, next, let's check out the next pair. And I'll save my favorite ones for last. Well, sort of favorite ones. Okay, here we go with another pair. Again, probably late Victorian, early 20th century. Look how long this chain is. You can see this here. This would have went around a lady's neck. This is actually silver. We got sterling silver. And look at that beautiful bridge on these. Quite decorative. Don't know if you could see that, but that's really, really quite lovely. And we got this cool looking handle here. Really quite great. And we'll fold these ones up if we can. And you'll see like a little groove right there. So you see it's going to slip into this little groove. And then it gets caught on a little mechanism that keeps it closed. And so there you go. And wow, these are really magnified. You could see that. Look at that. Okay, next, let's check out these interesting ones. And these are probably one of my oldest ones here. And if you look at this is an actual chain that's attached to a loop on the bottom. And here we go. And these are really, really, really long. Probably, my guess is around 1870s. I could be wrong, 1870s, 1880s. And we got this long chain that's really, really unusual. And it looks like it's braided rope, doesn't it? Well, guess what, boys and girls? Let's try to get in better lighting if we can. Okay, this is not braided rope. This is human hair, which is quite insane. If you think about this chain is made out of a woman's hair. Yeah, let's scrunch it all up and look at it. And this is really quite eerie, quite strange, quite creepy, but yet at the same time quite beautiful. And so this would have hung from her neck, and she would have actually wore these with this human hair that probably came from her own head. And yeah, there we go. Look at that little acorn with hair on it. That's quite amazing. And so this would have came from her own head. She probably had really, really long hair in order to make a chain like this. And it was almost like a memento of herself. And I find that quite cool. So here we go. Here's the length. Look at the length of this one as opposed to other ones we have. And it actually magnifies quite well, as you can see. So let's pop the mechanism open if we can. And you ready? And there we go. And so a lady would have held this up to her eyes, really looked fashionable, and actually just wore this as a jewelry accessory. That's all these basically were. They were more of a jewelry accessory. They did come in handy when you had to look at the fine print on things. But for the most part, these really weren't meant to do anything else but to look pretty and to be worn as some sort of jewelry. And so once again, we have a snafu. Hold on. We have a snafu. Okay, good. The glove is unhooked. And so once again, thank you for watching another one of my videos. This is another Ghetto Antiques Roadshow extravaganza talking about old optical collectibles. It's really fun to find more pieces to add to the collection. I'm looking every single day to find more of these pieces. It's getting harder and harder actually to find these pieces for affordable prices. That's the problem. If you collect these old pieces, again, they're very, very, very hard to find at affordable prices. They're going up in value. The reason is especially because of the silver. A lot of these were made in sterling silver. And the problem is we're having today is people are collecting silver actually for investment reasons. So a lot of people are taking antiques. They're finding antiques on the internet made out of silver. And what they're doing is taking them to pawn shops and getting them melted down for silver bars or silver value. And so they'll get a whole bunch of these on eBay. They're made out of silver. They'll bring them to the pawn shop. The pawn shop will melt all these pieces down into a sterling silver-like piece or ingot or bar or whatever you want to call it. And what will happen is, sadly, eventually, these are going to start disappearing one by one. And you are not going to be able to find them anymore because they're going to be all melted down just for value. And I'm getting quite upset about that, thinking about that. So that's why, again, the prices are going up on these because they're disappearing one by one from the market and getting harder and harder to find. So once again, thanks for watching another one of my episodes. Hopefully you learned something and you learned about the different decades and how the different designs were at different periods of the decades. And I'll see you guys all soon, and I had fun showing you my collection. So long.